What is everybody? Welcome back to the Transparency. It's a Monday. It's sunny. Hello. I'm not going to waste any time. Wanted to have this for a happy hour live schedule 5. So all the lovely people overseas, they got to be loving this time frame. No, I was unable to make it completely out to CrimeCon, but I was able to definitely secure some very, very amazing things. First of all, I got to start off with a what the fuck moment. Paula, who I always give props to.
I was alerted to this live scheduled for Sunday, September 7th.
That would have been last night.
I think it was scheduled to take place at 6:30 Eastern time, PM. So I was like, whoa. A lot of us were like, oh my goodness, we're going to hear Bryan Kohberger's jail phone calls. I automatically.
Okay. So I'm like, what is Paula talking about? Right? Well, during the weekend, when Paula says a pretty big YouTuber who does FOIA requests and who knows what they're doing and they usually can get their hands on stuff, had this live scheduled to play the Bryan Kohberger jail calls. And then there was like this poof, the live went away. There was no live. And immediately I said to myself, I believe I actually texted a couple people because I wanted to see if I was right. So in order for me to see if I was right, I had to send a link and then I had to say, hey, I think it's so-and-so. Because I haven't been, I've been doing prepping for Sheldon stuff, obviously reading documents, went and cheered on my Browns. This is why you're not a Browns fan. If you know, you know. But anyways, I said, oh, this is totally Zav Girl. He said this was so fucking Zav Girl who said that she was going to play these video or the calls.
Assumed for some reason it was his Pennsylvania calls. Did not happen as scheduled, and it has disappeared. But I saw this kind of a thumbnail. It said jail calls, and you see Bryan Kohberger, you see his sister, his mom, his dad, one of his sisters, and it says Bryan Kohberger, new Bryan Kohberger jail calls with his mother and father and whoever else he calls. So I thought, oh my goodness, as soon as I heard about this on Saturday, I was alerted to this. Immediately, I start my whole routine. I was thinking, whoa, this is brilliant. This person, and she's really good at getting public records requests. She gets the goods. This isn't some fly-by-night person. I've seen this other different YouTuber who's been promoting Bryan Kohberger jail calls, and you listen to the video and it's totally not. It's some Mackenzie Shrilla jail calls. And
what is wrong with these people? Anyways, so I go to, I'm like, I gotta be right. Ding, 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 Lana, you win $1 million. Hey, y'all, I'm so sorry that I trusted someone who lied. This is on Zab Girl's post on her Facebook page or YouTube channel. Hey, you all. 3 hours ago. Hey, you all. I am so sorry that I trusted someone who lied. He promised for weeks he was getting the Kohberger jail calls because I tried to order them and got rejections. And he told me he used his bar number to get them. And stupid me. Yeah. You are dumb as fuck, girl. And stupid me. I believed him. And now come to find out, he told me, this is like literally, this is a diary entry. Dear diary. I was like, what is she talking about now? This is Tina with What the Fuck Transition Services. I literally take a 2-day break and this is what the fuck is going on. 2-day break, and this is what starts going on. I trusted him because he told me that basically he's a lawyer and he used his bar number to get them. And stupid me believed him And now come to find out, he told me lie after lie. And I feel so stupid. I trusted him. You guys, there's no periods at all in that sentence. Breathe. Okay. I trusted him because he was able to help me out with a YouTube issue and he seemed legit. But I, not capitalized, should have never put up that reminder or even told my viewers that I had the calls until I actually had them in my hands. He even described some of the calls to me Saturday right before I put the reminder up. He described them. So somebody's lying and then making up what the calls actually say. I mean, with a name like Zavgirl as a true crime channel, it's just, I think, speaks volumes for me. He even described some of the calls to me Saturday right before I put the reminder up. I feel so stupid that I got played. I feel really bad because I let you all down. But it's another lesson learned the hard way. I'm so very sorry. You don't even understand how bad I feel that I got your hopes up. I'm so upset you don't even know because he also let down my family. He also let down my family. And I'm like, what is she talking about? I let down my family. He also let down my family with another lie he promised. So something that's completely not related, I guess. So not only did he affect my family, he affected my channel, and I'm not happy. You guys, I'm just reading. This is what it says. And I know that being a lawyer usually has nothing to do with making FOIA requests. But I thought, well, I got rejected, and this case has been very weird how they been releasing things. So maybe they are for some reason letting lawyers request them. I don't even. Next sentence. Oh God. I know in hindsight it makes no sense. Absolutely. Because I've been doing FOIA requests for 7 years now. And I never heard or saw that being a lawyer, besides if you are the lawyer in that specific case, but being a lawyer in general gets you files. It usually doesn't matter when it comes to FOIA requests. But like I said, I got multiple rejections. And when he contacted me and said he was getting them, and I asked how, because I got rejected, and he said because he gave them his bar number. Like I said, I've never heard that a bar number will get you FOIA requests before, but I know every case is different. And I thought, okay, well, maybe they are doing that with this case. But that's why I waited weeks to tell you all about it, because I was trying to feel him out. You guys, this doesn't even make any sense. You guys, they didn't even know how any of this was going to be happening. So you're telling me that Zav put in her requests like how long ago? While it was still about to go to trial? I mean, weeks, bar numbers, what the fuck? Just none of this. Like Freedom of Information Act. Freedom of Information Act. That is what FOIA stands for. Okay? It isn't like I'm a lawyer and I get fucking files. That's not what it stands for. Like you just can't. You just can't. But you guys, I literally just 2 days. 2 days. I was going to go live last night too. And I said, you know what? No, I want to watch Presume Innocent. So I binge watched that. And I was enjoying my little vacation. Family time. But that's why I waited weeks to tell you all about it, because I was trying to feel him out and see if he was being honest. And I couldn't see how he would gain from this lie, because eventually he'd have to produce them. And then when he can't, then what? Why would have just called him out from jump and said, hey, this is a person that's saying he's a lawyer and going around and saying he has these and yada yada yada. I would have put his ass out on blast. Truth and transparency. That's what you do. You just truth and transparency it. But I literally am gone for 2 days, and here we have, ridiculous. What else did she say here? I mean, it's really really long. I mean, I couldn't see how he would gain from this lie because eventually he'd have to produce them, and then when he can't, then what? Well, then why aren't you producing his name and saying exactly what the fuck he has done to you? Why are you protecting somebody that totally fucked you? That sounds like that makes a lot of sense. You get what I'm saying? Why are you protecting his identity? Do you even know his identity? So we have a secret lawyer who we don't know saying that he's going to use his bar license and number to get you FOIA requests, says Zab girl. No wonder why she's always saying, I'm just so confused when she's going live and watching stuff. I'm so confused. Yeah. What is up, mods, man? What is up? Welcome. Come on in. Just jumping right into it. Okay, so then he says, or then she says rather, okay, then she says this, and I couldn't see how he would gain from this lie because eventually he'd have to like produce them, and then when he can't, then what? Question mark. And then she says, like she's like, we're having a conversation. You know what I'm talking about, man? Like, what did he think was gonna come from this? Well, he didn't think anything because he thinks that you're too much of a pussy to put his fucking name out there, screen name, whatever the fuck he got on him. Put that shit out there. He's a troll. And he's pretending to be a lawyer. He's probably not even a fucking lawyer. Anyways, then she says, so I waited up until the day he said he got them and told me what were in some of the calls to put the reminder up for my live. Zav is like notorious for making videos, but she edits them. In order to edit a video, you have to have the video, and it doesn't just take 2 seconds to edit videos. So I call bullshit on that. You would need the videos so that you can start your. You think I'm just gonna, hey, if I schedule a live and I'm planning on getting something because I don't know, Moscow Police Department says it to me. Sure, yeah. If I'm planning on editing a video, that takes time. That stuff takes time, guys. So she waited up until the day he said he got them and told me what were in some of the calls to put the reminder up for my live. When she says the reminder, it's like the I'm going live thing. But hindsight, I should have made him screenshot the email or something. But hindsight saying like, I didn't ask for any receipts. That's what that means. I didn't ask for any receipts. Exactly. You never do. What? Why would I ever ask for receipts? Yeah. I mean, this is just the same shit. Just a fucking different day. It's kind of like the Browns, man. Fucking find a way to lose every fucking time, man. Zab girl equals the Browns. That's why I stay here. Yeah, I freaking Gemini. Yeah. You guys, somebody mail Zab girl some Browns gear, okay? Toilet bowl. Toilet. I was explaining that to Bella. Bella's trying to like get all with like sports and stuff like that. It's so funny. And when I'm like explaining, I'm like, you don't get it. Like I cannot get back into like being so hardcore Browns again because they just break your heart. Okay. If you don't know, you don't know, and just don't ever get to know. And she's like, because anyways, and so it's like Zab girl. She's the Browns. So I just waited up until the next day. Anyways, here she says, um, but hindsight, I should have made him screenshot the email or something, like screenshots or receipts. Come on, Zab. Anybody could fake a screenshot because he claimed he couldn't send them right then Saturday because he was out all day, and I wanted to get a reminder up so that when he was home, supposedly, that is when I realized he lied because he never sent them and disappeared. Poof, he just disappeared. AKA, he ghosted me. Okay. He ghosted her, not me, her. He just disappeared like fucking poof. And then that's when I realized he lied because he never sent them and disappeared. And then the next morning had some lie excuse. I wish I wouldn't have said anything. I actually wasn't going to, but that last live, he was in chat telling everyone there was a surprise coming and told me to tell everyone. And everyone was like, Sav, what is it? What is it? Oh my God, this is so troll. Like, this is what trolls do. He got everyone so anxious because of him telling people in chat that there is this big thing coming. There's a big dick coming, Zav. Shit, you guys, I'm sorry, but this is this is hilarious to me. These periods that are not right after like a word really bother me. But then she says, but I probably wouldn't have actually said anything, to be honest, if he never got people all riled up in chat about it. This is why you have chat rules. So then in the comment section, she then pins her own comment and makes another long diary entry and says, and I know that being a lawyer usually has nothing to do with making FOIA requests again, but I thought, well, I got rejected and this case has been very weird. Why is she repeating the same thing that she just wrote? Oh God. These comments are priceless. He is a lawyer, one commenter. He is a lawyer and still did that. Can you report his bar license and press charges? You know those newspaper entries back in the day when it was like you would ask somebody, what was that damn thing? I don't know. You guys know what I'm talking about though, when you ask somebody for advice. Those little columns. Can you imagine Zav Girl as the advice giver? Like, all them people gonna get fucked up, man. She said, girl. This other person says, girl, we know it's not your fault. Yeah, the fuck it is. People like us are honest and keep our word, but others don't. And we forgot that sometimes. No one blames you. You will have plenty of other great content like always. We love you, Zab. Oh, God. Next comment. David, there's no more room on the cross, Zav. You've not let anyone. What is this? Oh my God, Dave says there's no more room on the cross, Zav. You've not let anyone down. We're not responsible for other people's choices or shortcomings. Keep positive. Oh my God. Why are you bringing in Jesus? Leave him out. Leave him out. Next comment. Zav, no apology needed. You provide us with so much deep diving into so many cases. We love you and are so grateful for your hard work to always report on cases. Why isn't anybody asking who the hell this person is? Next comment. Zav, don't apologize. We love you. That's like, can you imagine me writing to the Browns organization on Facebook right now and saying, don't worry, guys. You have a rookie kicker, and we do player home games in Cleveland, Ohio, on the fucking lake where it is swirling winds, and you want to bring in some Syracuse sweet pie kicker who has never kicked in a professional football game in his life? Yet you have Joe Flacco, who's 50. Okay, there's a reason you have veterans. In Cleveland, you need a veteran kicker because it is those type of conditions every single week. Okay, it was September, sunny, and 65. But guess what? It was howling winds for whatever reason, just right down there. But you're up, not down in the bowl, perfectly fine. Now get that Syracuse kicker the fuck off my team. I don't blame the kicker. I blame the coaching staff. I blame the GM. Whoever would think that you're going to bring in a rookie kicker into Cleveland, you done lost yo mind. Next. Don't feel bad, sweetie. You're still amazing. Next comment. So sorry to hear, Zav. The calls are one thing, but how horrible to hear it also affects your family. Your upcoming trip is going to feel so good to get away from the added stress from dude. Thoughts and hugs to you and your family. Zav, put out his screen name. Put out everything that he wrote you. Put out the state that he says he lives in. Put out his fucking name. Put out his bar number. Is he impersonating being a lawyer? Is he really a lawyer? I mean, why would you ever even believe somebody like this? It happens. Give yourself grace. Well, how about this, Sav? I'll just do it what you can't, honey. Okay? Let's see. So during CrimeCon week, not sure if you guys know that Stacy CHAPIN was with Othram, and Othram basically in a nutshell said that they single-handedly solved the Idaho4 murders.
Hopped on the road on Wednesday. We're now 1 week prior to Thanksgiving of that year. We hopped on the road on Wednesday, and on that day was the same day that Ethan was being taken from Spokane, Washington, from his autopsy home. And I was so concerned about driving because we had to drive Priest Lake is also a 7-hour trip back to our home in Mount Vernon, and I was so concerned that we were going to come on a white Suburban on our trip home that day.
Anyways, they ended up doing interviews, Othram and Stacy CHAPIN, with Brian Etten. And I wrote actually on the News Nation video that they did, the interview, because it was interesting to me that if Othram is the one that gave, hey, it wasn't just like Othram was taking credit for creating the SNP profile, which is like your SNP, right? They didn't just take that credit. Okay, they took the credit that they said, hey, we told them that it was a family in Pennsylvania. That means that you went all the way from the beginning to the end. Okay. That, hey, remember I told you guys, Othram was both the Idaho State Police's lab and the genealogy, they were their lab. And then the FBI just used the same, obviously that's the FBI's lab go-to. They have a ridiculous contract together with them. They're the best, right? Why would you ever pull something from the best? No, they just put a different organization in charge of this portion of the case so that they could go ahead and do things their way. AKA the FBI was going to hide the way that they did it, which was going into all the databases that they shouldn't have gone into. Okay. Now the question is do you believe that happened simultaneously, saying here, we did the work this way without going into the databases? And while we were doing that, we also just decided to put in our own, like, when did that portion begin? When it was like, hey, we're going to go rogue and put it into all these other databases. And you remember when they wanted 104 Brothers to upload a kit And I thought about that for a long, long time. I said, you know what? If you work backwards after you go into all the databases, okay, if you worked backwards, you'd be able to see, hey, if we could just have this person's DNA in there or this family's in there, right? Then it would connect it all. You get what I'm trying to say? Like if you went backwards. And so, but you would have to have already done the breaking the policy way first to then know that, okay, see, this is what we're missing. This portion right here. And if this person was actually in the database that was law enforcement, we're golden. And so for me, it's more of just like the whole, I knew Othram was it from start to finish. I knew it. They were just going to have, oh, hey, the FBI is taking over. And so it would just be a way that, hey, this is why there wasn't, it's interesting. We want to talk about something. Well, did you notice that it doubled in size and you would need to have the raw data to do that? And you couldn't just do that. Ann Taylor, I believe, knew this based off of 2 questions that she asked Matthew Gamet, which was, okay, so was that the end of Othram's involvement in this case? And his answer to that was, that's the end of Idaho State Police's involvement with the, like, that was the answer to that question. That was the Idaho State's police. That was their end of their involvement with this. He didn't say, yeah, that's the end of Othram's involvement in this case. Because it wasn't. But according to this interview, according to what was said at CrimeCon, Othram solved the case. Literally. That's what they said. That it didn't matter like what came first. And I'm like, what? It matters what came first because of the probable cause affidavit. That's what matters. You know, there's tons of cases that are out there that people have put in IGG and said that that's what they've done. And they wrote that in probable cause affidavits before. They just chose not to do it in this one when they could have. And why not? Well, Ann Taylor pointed out all the different steps, all the different times that you're supposed to go get a search warrant for the IGG work. And they didn't go and get it. Where's the receipt of the FBI or Idaho State Police when you're uploading law enforcement kits? Like, I wanted to ask questions on the timeline of all of this. You know, to say that they were able to get the profile, the SNP, meaning Blaker brought over and hand delivered it on the 22nd at 3. By within 48 hours, the wet work, the lab work to make it into the SNP profile, it took 48 hours. So I was able to add that to a timeline. So if anybody is paying attention to this timeline, Blaker's report saying that he, got in a car, drove on the 21st, went to Boise, picked up the shit, then from Boise, then went to the airport, got on a plane, got to Houston really late, like a red eye type thing, like early in the morning. So then on that next day, which would be the 22nd, he then gives it to them on the 22nd at 3:30 p.m. Okay. And so if you take November 22nd at 3:30 p.m. is when here you physically have it. What was said at the conference is that by Thanksgiving, which was November 24th that year, that's the day that they had the actual SNP, that profile. And to get to that, that's where like the lab work, they call it the wet work. And during the different hearings during this proceeding, when they had asked Matthew Gamet and some other guy that was up there when they were questioning, Ann Taylor's questioning, which is how long does it take for the wet work? How long does it take? And he said, yeah, anywhere from like, I don't know, it could be like a week or two. Well, Otham did it in 48 hours to be able to get the SMP profile. Okay, then once you have that profile, okay, so if on November 24th, which is Thanksgiving, so November, let's just go to the 25th now. That's when they developed it over the 23rd and 24th. Okay, so then on November 25th, you would start doing, for chain of custody purposes, and documenting everything, is that the next thing that you have to do is you're going to upload this into the law enforcement allowed databases. Okay. And you have to obtain a search warrant for that. And you fill out extra paperwork and you have to pay like I think at that time it was $500 to upload it. And you have to fill out paperwork for that. And it's specialized paperwork because you're uploading a law enforcement. This is for you to keep track. And that actually takes longer to have happen. And you'll have a receipt of that it's a law enforcement kit. And so that was like one of the big parts is, where is this receipt? And then that paperwork, it doesn't just happen like, oh, I filled it all out, done in an hour, let's go ahead. No, from everybody that I've talked to, that takes a little bit of time. Like, I said, well, what's a little bit? They're like 3 to 5, 7 days. It depends on when these people, like when they get back to you. But thinking that it just turns around like an hour or two, like, no, that's never happened on a case that my source said that they've ever worked on. That's never happened. But you are notifying all the way through everything. The prosecutor is involved in everything, and so would have been like the lead investigator. So Payne Gilbertson. And then my next question was, okay, remember Ann Taylor was asking, okay, well, how did you guys document when they asked for the 4 brothers to put in their DNA or go obtain the DNA so we can like upload it, things like that? Call them, talk to them, see if they'll do it. And something that I thought was interesting then is, Kristen spoke and said that people were doing interviews and they were getting it all wrong. And I'm just like, well, who's doing interviews? Like, nobody knew what was going on. But she was like saying like the families couldn't speak. And it was like, well, actually, that's not true. The families they were not gagged. The families were not gagged. And then I was like thinking to myself, well, what's the connection here with why does Stacy CHAPIN have more of a connection with Othram than any of the other families? You know what I mean? And I said, well, Stacy CHAPIN's dynamic to her family is actually a lot different than everybody else, with knowing who the biological parents are of each of the children, right? I don't know. Maybe there was something with that. But I would be thinking that Stacy CHAPIN should be like all the other parents, or they should be like Stacy CHAPIN, right? So you guys get what I'm saying? Like, why? I didn't understand. Why doesn't Othram have that type of relationship with everybody's family, with like the parents? Why the fuck did they choose to focus on a speck of touch DNA for Brian versus the blood DNA on the sheath and throughout the house? That infuriates me. Well, I think that it would have been better served if good questions were asked of, because I do believe that, obviously like IgG works, but I just have one question. Actually, I had a bunch of them. Let me see. I'll tell you my questions. Trying to rip these off. I was like, yeah, okay. Okay. Well, let's say that I was at the Q&A. How long did it take you, Othram, to develop the wet work, aka to take the vial that you received and make it into an SMP profile? A couple days, a week, 2 weeks? Well, that was answered. And by Thanksgiving, they were able to have all the wet work done. They had their SMP profile. So number 2 was, and then once you have your SMP profile, in this case, how long did it take you to upload that profile into the databases that allow law enforcement searching? how do you maintain proper chain of custody? Because one day you're going to hopefully testify in a courtroom, right? 3 is, how did Othram go from the wrong family branch to possibly needing investigators to seek out 4 brothers to hopefully then put their DNA into a test tube to upload it to the system? And can you kind of expand on like what was the purpose of that? And would their DNA be uploaded to only law enforcement kits as well, though, because if this is a law enforcement case? Or would you be instructing them to say, hey, you're going to need to put your DNA into the system for anybody to search it? Okay. So number 4, then I said, is how did Othram manage to be the supplier of the name or the family last name in Pennsylvania if ISP told Othram to stop working on the case on December 10th and give everything over to ISP / the FBI because the FBI is going to take over? How is Othram possibly the supplier of the name to say, here you go, there's 2 Italian families in this part of Pennsylvania, blah, blah, blah. And then, here's Kohlberger. It's like going to be somebody in this, and to say the name Brian Kohlberger. How do you get to that point if you're being told to stop working on it? And you guys, we know the answer was clearly like, well, we were never told to stop working on it. We just had a different boss. Okay. And obviously Othram is not, like, they don't, then that's where it becomes a moral and an ethical question for them, which is, okay, so the FBI has come out in documentation and said that they went into databases that they shouldn't have gone into. Does that have anything to do with you guys? Because integrity is going to matter here. If you have these rules, why do you guys have rules if you're just going to do whatever you want anyways and nothing happens? Like, why even have a rule that you even have to get, a search warrant or do anything? Like, what's the purpose of the temporary / the interim policy? Especially if you guys want IGG to be used as not a last resort, but as a starting right off the rip, because it's all about chain of custody. For example, then my next question was, if, like I said, if I was there, are you aware agents testified to receiving your tip at hearings throughout the pendency of the case and not until December 19th, 2022? And so what you're telling this crowd and those following this case is that Othram was that tip provider and that you never stopped working this case, and that the only thing that changed was who was going to be, quote unquote, in charge of this portion of the investigation. Now, don't you think that's a little bit, what's the word I want to use? Sneaky, tricky? Like, you're purposely doing that because this is the question. Why? Is ISP not capable, or is the relationship that you have with ISP and they told you, like, hey, you can't go into these other databases? And it's like, if the FBI takes over, the FBI is going to look the other way and let us do whatever the fuck we want. And here you go. I mean, since IGG was employed so early on in this case, you would have to know or be expected that whatever could potentially come from this, right? You're one day going to be testifying in court. No? Well, no, because we were planning on hiding it. But then it's like, why are you hiding something that you want to tell the world that's amazing? That's just where it doesn't add up for me right there. And so since Othram was the lab to keep it the whole time, then they knew that what they were doing was 100% in violation of the interim policy, because there wasn't a different lab. Like they knew why ISP was bowing out. And here, go ahead. If you guys want to go ahead and do that. But also, is it because you guys are using grant money, federal funding? There was a big question about how this was being paid for. Next question is, are you aware a police officer testified under oath that the FBI took over because they could access more databases and that Othram had exhausted all of its resources? So that was the reason you were asked to stop and transfer everything to ISP, who would then get it all to the FBI. Are you like, is that what you're talking about when you're saying people are saying stuff that's just not true? Well, you understand that came from one of the lead investigators in this case. And so he testified under oath to that lie. Or are you going to sit here and say, well, yeah, no, he just didn't know what we were doing? Exactly. But he's the lead investigator. How are you guys keeping that from the lead investigator? What did Othram genealogists do to double the sample size by between December 10th and December 19th? If and in fact, before it was said that here, this is Othram's size sample, and here, this is the FBI's size sample. But in reality, it was your sample because you're both the FBI lab and Othram, because you are like the FBI never took it out of your hands. So can you explain that process or how that could possibly miscued where in the documents that we're reading and it's put into these motions that are being ruled on by a judge? So is it your opinion, your professional, your expert opinion that these documents are not correct and that people aren't understanding the process and how this all went down? Then what was the purpose for the doubling of size? Because I want to talk about the Gilligo Beach murders. Isn't it true that you signed a $500,000 contract with the FBI in September of 2022, right before the murders, to work exclusively with the FBI with your DNA solves on special emergency cases? Was this one of them? Why didn't law enforcement give you a warrant or show you a warrant at any of the phases when doing this case? Is that normal? And last question. You weren't given the sheath, correct? So you technically don't know where that sample from the vial came from, correct? That's how I was going to end things with my Q&A if I had the opportunity. Because those are all the questions that need to just get sorted out. After that all gets sorted out, then there is no confusion. I mean, if anybody thinks that there's other questions besides what I just read off there that would help you not be confused, please comment in the comment section. Because I don't want killers to be able to go free and run around and kill other people. So if IgG is as powerful, like everything in the country and in the world continues to grow on technology, and so of course, why you don't stay in the past just because there's groundbreaking this, there's groundbreaking that. We don't still use dial-up phones, even why aren't you using dial-up phone anymore? Because we have cell phones. Well, let me tell you, I'm starting to really strongly consider what all this cell phone allows the government to be able to do. I want my fucking dial-up phone back. I don't want everything just email it to me and send it through emails. With doctor shit. Once you get this phone, it's downloaded and everything that's on there in a Cellbrite. Somebody going into your house compared to going into your phone. When does it? And again, it's just, we have to keep our rights where, hey, these are our rights. And if you just keep on, well, it's not this or it's not that or it's not, Lana, how could you? They got the right guy. They got the right guy. That's not my argument. That's not my argument. My argument is that we always want to make sure that we're doing things the right way. Why? Like, fundamentals matter, your foundation. And so Author would just have to tell you, yeah, whatever they gave us, we did it from that vial, whatever that sample was. And so all I would want to say is, if I was on a board for this, I would say, okay, I think it's great. I think for people to know in the world that, hey, just because you're a first-time offender, don't think that you're going to go out and committing crimes. Hey guys, don't worry, our DNA is not in the system yet. You know, even if we mess up a little bit, like we'd have to mess up twice. Okay. Or maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times. So does IGG get people initially to say, like, I'm not even going to consider doing that crime or doing that because I'm going to get caught. Right. So yeah, I think it's awesome. I do, because I think it'll make people think twice before they do something, more so than they even do now. But I just want one thing to change. One thing to change. One thing. Just like cops have to wear body cams, lab personnel are to be recorded while they're working. I mean, we're talking about murder cases. We are talking about rapes. We're talking about, this isn't somebody's financial transaction at the bank. But guess what? That's recorded. So wear body cams, have cameras on. And if you're initially going to do something like an author is going to, I want them to have the physical evidence. Right? So if you're going to use IGG, it's like whatever, pants, underwear, a sheath. I want you to have to do everything from the piece of evidence. Because then you're eliminating, okay? You're eliminating this, hey, well, yeah, well, this is where we just got what they extracted. Okay, so I think all of it needs to be recorded. All of it should be recorded. How should nobody, how could anybody have a problem with that? I didn't say you have to have, when you're in your lab, just like, I don't know, walking around, going out to lunch and blah, blah. I'm saying if you're truly going to be in your lab and, hey, okay, now it's time for me to take this piece of evidence and do what I do, right? Why aren't we recording that? Like, what's going on here? I don't get it. We want to say technology is so great. We have the ability to record that shit. Why aren't we? Just record it. Just like if you're going to interview somebody, record the interview. Video record it, audio record it. Okay, well, guess what? In the lab, you just can't audio record, right? So I think that they should, it just, how are you guys not sitting around a round table, and how is nobody possibly mentioning this? I have to believe that people are. And if nobody is, then I call bullshit. Then those people must be told to, like, hey, you know what? We don't need them on this board. I'd have no problem if I was working and whatever I was doing, and there was a camera on me, if what I'm doing is what these people are doing. If you have a problem with that, then don't get in that line of work. Also, don't you think that if you're investing in this lab, like, if whatever Othram has, you know, I keep hearing, like, we have the best technology, we can do this. And I'm just over here thinking, honestly, they're talking about building that S&P, okay? But once you build it, you still then have to upload it. And they're saying that theirs is the best because I'm guessing like degraded DNA, things like that, stuff that's harder, that's why it's the best because you're able to build a profile still from it. But at the end of the day, if you don't have database to compare your profile to, like that's what the markers with CODIS, like there's only so many markers with CODIS, and it's all people that would have been already in the system from a different felony, that their card was uploaded. Or here it's like, I would think that your database, if you can have a database that has, I don't even know how many samples, right? Who do you think is going to always have a better outcome? The lab that has hardly any databases with any profiles, or the lab that has 75% of the world's profiles? Who do you think? Who do you think is going to produce more, more results? Like it's no brainer. It's like Zabgirl or Lana. The way Zabgirl operates or the way Lana operates, which person's going to develop more, production? Somebody in chat, you guys, I'm sorry, but somebody in chat saying, tell them about the big surprise. Tell them about the big surprise. Sorry, I just had to. Tell them about the big surprise. Oh, shit. Jesus. The big surprise. The big surprise is Zabgirl got trolled or she's trolling herself. Either one, both are ridiculous. And that's what the beginning part of the live was. So, what else did I want to say? Oh, yeah, here, I want to play something else. Okay, so let's go to okay.
Law enforcement. And I want to make clear, because there are questions in our talk today for David, and I'm sure in our talk tomorrow, that we don't tell them this is your perpetrator. We say this person's profile, or one of these 2 or 3 people in this family left DNA at this crime scene, meaning that they then need to investigate. They need to contextualize that information. They knew in the Kohlberger case that there was a white Elantra that was seen at the crime scene. Now they knew that there was a family in Pennsylvania that was identified. Could they look up a white Elantra that had a Pennsylvania plate or a Pennsylvania driver? Of course they could. And that's part of their investigation. I don't know the order of which the...
Right there when she said, I don't know the order. The order matters. The order is everything because the order has to do with the probable cause affidavit, right? If you leave IGG off the ticket, right, you do not get to Brian Kohlberger. And that's just the only thing that, that's not what they're there to talk about, but they're going to have to start getting into those talks when you're going to start putting IGG on the map in not cold cases. Okay. When something's a cold case and it's 20 or 30 years old, all right, everybody that I've talked to, for the most part, okay, you're dealing with like, hey, this was never tested. Let's test this. Okay. Who's the first person that gets to test it? These guys, the lab. So let's say the sheath would have never been tested, for example. Let's just hypothetically throw out, or like a random other case. Hey, you know what? They never tested this in that case. Like, hey, the Brian Drake case. All right. Let's test the DNA. Let's test Brian Drake's sweater and let's see what's on his sweater. Okay. So it just, guess who does that testing? They do. They have that item. Okay. You know where it's coming from. And so, like, in this case, a vial was here. This is here. This is what was on the sheath, and this is where it was located. But we're not interested in the blood sample that has a mixture of DNA of your 2 girls and then 1 unknown male? That's in the blood. That's mixed with the blood at the scene. And it's not Brian Kohlberger's. What? Like, but the question is if you ask somebody like that, like, hey, would you be interested in that? Because they're talking about this DNA on the sheet, right? Yeah. But if I was a detective and you're telling me there's another unknown sample, male, and it's not Brian's, and it's mixed in the blood of the 2 victims, I'm just going to go like this. Oh, yeah. Who cares? We got our guy. Why aren't we thinking about things that could have happened in the John Benet Ramsey case, which is the guy that packaged the underwear? His DNA was actually on her underwear. And if you would have done a method like this and, said, hey, we're going to arrest this guy because his DNA was on John Benet Ramsey's underwear.
Investigators actually investigated that case, but they were able to piece all those pieces together because we gave them the information that we gave them. And as they pieced all those puzzle pieces.
See, we gave them the information that we gave them. And she's absolutely right. But that is not how it was presented to obtain probable cause for an arrest warrant. And this is where I'm saying that this is now going to start to matter, okay? Because you're supposed to go and get search warrants to do this shit at 4 different times, and they didn't do any of that. And that's why Jill Bolton's portion of her Dateline episode is so important, and it's like literally riding underneath the radar of everything because Jill Bolton's an attorney in Idaho, and she was cast in that Dateline episode that's like the big leak episode. And Jill Bolton was Dan Moore's attorney. Fucking crazy, right? You want to know why she was on the show? Because Shane Bishop and her have a relationship, because Shane Bishop was trying to call the Moores to have them on Dateline, trying to call, Jill Bolton to be on Dateline with that Moore case, with the Drake case. Okay. And so Jill Bolton comes out and she says, well, yeah, like they probably didn't go and do it that way because they couldn't get a probable cause. It was lacking. So they just went and did whatever the fuck they went ahead and did.
Together, it became very clear that there was only one suspect was possible of committing this crime.
Okay, now see, that's crazy of a statement right there, that there's only one person possible. And it's like, how can she say that when she wasn't involved in the case? Or was she, as an investigator? How do you not know that multiple people weren't involved in this and that's just one of the people? How do you know that Brian didn't commit this with 2 other law officers? The plainclothes officers. And if her job is only like, hey, this is just what we provided you, that's why I think it's just important to ask the right questions so that we can understand how this all went down. But it's hard to tell based off of what I'm listening to here. I'm like, wait, what? Doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Stacy, do you want other families who are going through, do you think things need to change?
Absolutely.
Nationwide?
I don't know what the answer to that is. We're just getting started on this. But, even if you don't know anything, but that Othram was involved in identifying a perpetrator, that's a comforting piece of information. The rest of it takes all of law enforcement as well, right? It still takes this entire case. But there is a piece that is definitively in that home.
I think that, I'm trying to remember how, but I think it leaked out one point. I forget. Often it came out at some
It
point.
did.
I don't remember how exactly.
I think it was the New York Times article.
That's
I
right.
may be right or wrong about that being the first source,
Not the New York Times.
but they had pulled a contract between Idaho State Police and Othram for this type of advanced DNA testing. And so they said, well, they're in contract. So it's very possible that Othram is the lab, but Othram will give no comment, as we couldn't give a comment at the time.
Yeah. And, and in this case specifically, which is very interesting, and I don't think we'll talk about this tomorrow, is that had it happened 7 miles west in Washington State, they might not have had knowledge of Othram. So the only reason that this thing went to Othram is because the Idaho State Patrol forensic scientists knew about them. And when it didn't hit in CODIS, then they brought it there like, we got to take a chance on this company. And had it gone to Washington,
How does Stacy Chapin know that? Maybe ask themselves, how does Stacy Chapin know that right there? The the patrols.
and their forensic people didn't know, then potentially it would have gone I don't know that it would have gone unsolved because that's not my job. It would have just taken more time, right?
So are there so many cases out there that could be solved?
Yeah, so like that's my thing with it, is that I think time is important, stuff like this. Okay. But if you go and you listen, they need to button all of this shit up. Okay. And it's like anything else. Once you button it up, if you don't do it if you just like anything with law enforcement, like, why do you think evidence gets tossed that's all you hear about is evidence getting tossed. Sometimes stuff that doesn't make it to trial because fuck, we can't do this, because we did this. So here I'm going to back up.
It seems like you're kind of entering sort of in a way like the next chapter.
I don't disagree with that, actually. It feels like a very natural transition, I guess. I didn't know where it was all going to end or be. We're a face, we're a victim. We have been, Othram is involved in our case. And so it's just, yeah, it makes sense, right? And thank you. I mean, we've tried to take the high road through our case, through the entire, it's been it'll be 3 years in November, obviously, but.
You just said that Stacy and the way that she handled this inspired you. I had a question. I have this question all the time from people. How do you do the job that you do, see such evil and not be affected by it? And I have to say that I do. I see some really terrible things and some really terrible parts of humanity. But then I also see pure light. And I feel like Stacy is one of those people that went through the worst of what society can give you. The unimaginable. I can't imagine going through what Stacy went through. And instead of letting that define her, she's actually turned the worst experience of her life into light. And she wants to give back to the world in a positive way and advocate for justice and fairness for everyone, advocate that technology is used in real time. That means a lot to me. Although we won't go into the details of exactly how we met until tomorrow at our talks, so that people still wake up in the morning and come to our
and want to come.
We bumped into each other by chance.
Yeah.
And this case was difficult because
they bumped into each other at actually the CrimeCon of the year. I don't know if it was 2023. Yeah. 2023 one. So this was 2025 one. So they bumped into each other at 2023's.
All of us were under a gag order. And
all of us were under a gag order.
We couldn't have our first real conversation until that gag order was lifted. Yeah. And that was really difficult. Everything I do here at Othram, everything everyone here at Othram does is for the victims and their families. Yeah. We're victim advocates first. And it's very difficult to meet your why and to not be able to tell them how you feel, what's going on in the case. But that's the deck of cards we were dealt. in this scenario. And we're
You think about this in cold cases, that's not like that at all. Cold cases, there's no gag order. You know what I mean? It's just this is unprecedented. It's unprecedented. This is uncharted territory, and
here tomorrow and then I think indefinitely to try to advocate that others aren't dealt the same deck of cards.
Yeah.
Because it's a difficult one, right? To know that you have information that could help someone heal, that could help someone feel safe or secure, and to not be able to give it to them is difficult.
that kind of confused me. They got an arrest. You know what I mean? They got their guy, and I think what she's getting at is that, are you saying that you knew the probable cause was an absolute fucking lie? Because we couldn't tell Stacy the real truth, right? And here we see this probable cause affidavit, and it's just like, yeah, that's just, these families are thinking that, like, yeah. Think about it. What does that mean? What is she saying right there? Well, couldn't she give chase? Like, they arrested Brian Kober off of what they did. Because it was like, hey, hush, hush, don't tell anybody that we did this. You get what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And maybe what she's trying to say is that, hey, this needs to change. We need to be able to use this right off the rip. We need to be able to do this. You know, I just think if you want to advocate for how amazing something is, you don't hide it. You don't hide what you did and then say, hey, we need to use this. But you're claiming that you did, like, what? It doesn't make any sense.
To know that there's a family member out there wondering what is going on, and everything that's in the media is incorrect, for a lack of a better word, or
Right
just
there.
speculation, because everyone that to know that there's a family member out there wondering what is going on, and everything that's in the media is incorrect, for a lack of a better word, or just speculation, because everyone that worked this case, all the family members that were involved, none of us could speak.
All the family members that were involved, none of us could speak. She's saying that the Chapins were somehow involved in what, solving this case? Because the families were never gagged, you guys. Like, Steve could talk. Okay. The families could talk. And now it goes to begs the question of, what does SC really stand for? When SC, you know, is it not second cousin? Is it Stacy Chapin? But right there, that to be like I know this from following the case and covering the case. The families were not gagged. They were not gagged at all. That's just not true. Like, we know that's not true. Why does Kristen think that? You know, why does she think that? And I say, why is she thinking that? It's because she just said what she said. You know, I could say, why? Because she was told it, you know? Okay, well, that's my question, is why is she saying what she's saying? What was she told?
For a lack of a better word, or just speculation, because everyone that worked this case, all the family members that were involved, none of us could speak to the media.
Yeah.
You know that more than anyone.
Right.
And so everyone's speaking, everyone out there giving interviews was speculating.
Who was giving interviews?
Speculating with no knowledge, with very little information.
I think she's referring to all of the mainstream media interviews that they did, and they were just pulling in the Chris McDonoughs of the world, and pulling people in. Oh, hey, you know, you're an FBI agent from back, and you retired, and let's talk to you, and saying whatever. And then they're like, that's the only thing that I can think of what she means by that. That would make any sense, but nobody was doing interviews, and as far as like, it's just funny to me because you're here talking and you're giving an interview to Brian Enton, and if News Nation didn't put out more shit than anybody fucking else did, I mean, you guys, News Nation put out a hit piece on Ann Taylor's career. It's just ironic to see, you know, that this is the type of interview that you should be giving an independent journalist. Anybody. And no, I do not think the Idaho Statesman is independent journalism. Okay, no, I no longer think that. Yeah, no. No, daddy.
What was going on, and they painted the wrong picture. And finally, we have our voices back.
Yeah, right.
And we're excited to tell the story.
Was it? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Stacy.
No, I just was going to say you have to understand it's the most advanced technology, forensic DNA technology in the world. I'm not the scientist, but I've been on the receiving end of having them not only, you know, work on our case, but there was a comfort there. I mean, and that's part of the story we'll tell tomorrow, is that you know, we met by chance, and I had some knowledge throughout our case of what the Middlemans were doing. And
right there, she says it. And I had some knowledge throughout our case of what the Middlemans were doing. And that's where it comes down. Yeah, dear Abby, that's it. Somebody's watching it back there. Hell yeah. Dear Abby, can I charge a lawyer for doing what they do? That's lie. Love it. You guys, right there, she says it. Right there, she says it. You guys, I think she's the SC. I think for whatever reason, but now think about this. Maybe they didn't want to talk about. I don't know how they conceived. I never really went down and looked into that. I just don't believe that's any of my business. But does that really have something to do with this case? Are you gonna sit here and tell me there's any way possible that Brian Kohlberger's family is somehow related to because she used to give birth to the triplets? How did that all happen? For lack of better words, was the dad pumping blanks? You guys get what I'm saying? So did she get who's the dad? Who's you guys know what I mean? Their dad's their dad. I don't know. I'm just saying right there, it's like she's telling me, this is just my opinion, she was involved. Did they have a donor? Did they know the donor? If they did it all privately, you know, it's just, I think she just told us she had some, like, I was involved in this case, you know?
I mean, and that's part of the story we'll tell tomorrow, is that, you know, we met by chance, and I had some knowledge throughout our case of what the Middlemans were doing. And I relied on that. Jim and I relied on that in our darkest moments. I didn't know anything, you know, that I wasn't supposed to know, but it was a blessing. And victims' families should have the right to that information if they're going through the same thing we are. I mean, inevitably, there's going to be families that are in the same position we are.
Yeah.
So I have a question then. Like, why wouldn't... So she didn't share what she knew to the other families? You get what I'm trying to say here? Like, if I just went through something, and I know that these three other families just went through what I went through, and I know something, I mean, maybe that's what Steve's talking about. If you have something pertinent that you know, it's pertinent. Like that dog. How are you not speaking? Dude, I'm going to tell that family. And this is just where I'm going to stand by what I've been saying. Why do I feel like this was always like a divide and conquer type of situation? Like, these families, all of them are the same victims, okay? They're all victims of what this horrible case that transpired here. And why weren't you bringing them in and talking to them like as a cohesive unit? You know, can you imagine as a coach, if I only talk to one player at a time, and told each player, hey, this is our game plan. This is what we're going to be doing. And this is what the names of the plays are. And this is what you're going to do on those plays, right? Who would ever do that? Nobody. So why wouldn't you sit down all the families and like what's going on here? Why are we not having everybody I don't know.
I guess there would have been a lot.
That's so wrong. You should be united. You should be uniting, not dividing and conquering for a narrative. I just think it's gross. I think it's just so gross.
More certainty had it been explained.
It's definitive information. There was so much, so much speculation. There still is. It's shocking to me.
I mean, that's fine.
Well, and then what do you mean it's shocking to you? It's not shocking to me. There's so much misinformation because who is the source and what are they telling people? There's so much misinformation because they put out a freaking PCA that is not accurate. It's not how they got to the killer. Like, what do you mean? I don't understand what people don't get. I'm not up here reading 19 pages of something that I typed up. That's unbelievable. The police, Bill Thompson said, spread that far and wide. And none of it is fucking accurate. And none of it said that you used investigative genealogy. And so now we're just supposed to accept, accept what? It doesn't change. All those questions don't go away because Brian Culver said he's fucking guilty. That doesn't change the probable cause. The fuck that you're comparing apples to oranges. But when people like that say, I don't understand how there's still this speculation or how this, well, because nobody trusts law enforcement. That's what it is,
It's scientific.
I agree. It is scientific. I agree. It's science. But then what you're going to have people, what the questions now become is, and with my version of way of doing it, you're not going to have those questions, which is, well, you're going to have people say, well, where's the, where'd the DNA come from? Is it from this? Is it from that? Could it be from this material? And then why? Now we're finding out that there was three samples in the mixed blood between Kaylee and Maddie, and there's one unknown male. It's not Brian Culber. Now we have the glove outside, not Brian Culber. Now we have the glove on the blood on the railing, not Brian Culber. I mean, I would just say I want everybody involved, whoever thought that they could do this to my kid.
Right?
No
anyone's kid, because I believe that anybody could have been those four. If it wasn't these four, it was going to be other people's kids. This was happening. That's what I believe. There's no, if Brian Culber is the killer, right? Do I believe that this could have been prevented? Absolutely not. It would have just been other people. Maybe it could have been prevented that it would have been these four, but not that it wasn't going to happen.
I mean, if you knew definitively that knife sheath was without a shadow of doubt, which is the case, now that it's all said and done, it would have been different going through. You would have relied on, you kind of went, okay, maybe we don't need to worry as much as we need to worry.
Yeah, and there was one advanced forensic test performed. There was one profile. There was so much speculation out there about multiple profiles, incongruent information. There is only one lab that is doing this type of DNA technology that tested that DNA, and it's ours. And I couldn't come forward and say, no, this is definitive. Right. There is one profile with these matches that led to this conclusion that pointed to
with that. That's exactly right. For that item, for what you were given. But there isn't just one profile. That's not accurate. And that's not truthful. Okay. Or you're going to sit here and say, because the state didn't say Ann Taylor's making up. Why do you think there's 46 lab reports? There's not 46 lab reports because there was only one profile that was found in that house. There's 46 lab reports because it was a lot of shit, of which we just found out when I did my last live on Friday. Okay. All right. And it's just like, wait, what am I listening to right now? what the fuck am I listening to? Because yes, Othram, you were given one vial. No one's denying that. I think that's the problem. Why were you only given one? Like, here, read this. Here, read these lab reports. Does any of this interest you? Would you want to see who's here? You guys have the best technology. How about this? Go show me whose profiles those are. You guys could do it. Go find out who the profiles are. Why wouldn't the prosecution want to do that? And to say, here, look it. This isn't foreign because this person was so and so, and guess what? Maddie had sex with them a couple of days before, and so his DNA was in that bed. Okay. Period. The sheath, the same thing that you're saying, there's one profile. The sheath has another unknown male on that item. It's just mind blowing to me. Like, great, awesome. You got Brian Kober. So there's nobody else that's involved in this? You want to know what's interesting? Is that when they found out about the mixed sample and that you found out that another male contributor was part of that sample, we should be asking the questions is why wouldn't a lab geek out over that and be like, oh wait, you guys, you need to see this. You need to see this. What the hell is this? Holy shit. This mixture. This is Kaylee and Maddie, but this is a male unknown and it's not Brian's. What the fuck? Who did he do this with? Or could he potentially have done this with him? Not who could he have done this with? I'm going to change that. Wouldn't you want to rule that out? Wouldn't you be like, dude, that's what science nerds geek out over. Come on, man. It's like a sports person geeking out over a sports thing, okay? It's just because I think what Othram does is amazing. Okay? But just because something is amazing, like two things can be true. Two things can be true.
Directly to Brian Kohlberger's family, right? That none of that could be said before. And that was very frustrating. And to not be able to tell the family or to talk about it, the law enforcement agents that worked this case couldn't talk about it. No one that had any.
What do you mean? They didn't know. They didn't know. Brett, look at Payne's answers. He doesn't even know what the fuck is going on. And that's actually not what's supposed to happen. Read the interim policy and how this is supposed to happen, policies and procedures. Payne shouldn't be on the stand saying, I don't know to fucking shit. He was told the reason the FBI was taking over is because they have more databases. They have more databases. The FBI has more databases. Yeah. Ones that aren't for law enforcement. So, as great as the technology is, without going into those databases, you don't solve this, right? Why aren't we going to say that? When are we going to say that? When is that going to come out? When is that part going to come out? Your amazing technology made the S&P profile, but without going into databases that were not designed for law enforcement, right? You're not getting the match. You're in the wrong family branch, right? I just don't understand why you would want to build family trees for all of the unknowns.
Information could correct the record.
Right.
And so what ended up happening is everyone tried to figure out why was this information not out there, what was missing, what was the missing component, and came up with a whole bunch of speculations that led to uncertainty. And that uncertainty continued to grow. And
I can't believe that they're covering for law enforcement. Like, they're both saying nothing. Like, hello, law enforcement made it this way. I mean, what was so wrong about saying that you used investigative genealogy. What is so wrong about saying that you went to this lab? They weren't accredited yet. I mean, what's so wrong about saying the fucking truth? When is the truth ever wrong? Because the truth will expose what? And then we're not going to let a killer go free because we did what? We violated our own policy. And when someone says, well, Anna, but they didn't violate your rights. I said, no, but then it comes down to a mentality. If you have no issue violating your own fucking policy, right? And that just doesn't matter, right? Then what did you do? Then you violated our rights when you actually wrote up that probable cause affidavit, which was all lies. So you eventually did violate our rights. And that's what it leads to for me, is it's like, dude, this is the same shit, just a different day on how I don't want Brian Kober out on the streets if he killed anybody. I wouldn't want him to be my fucking neighbor. I would want him to be in my fucking dorm. Okay? I wouldn't want him to be my teacher, right? Do it the right way. Because y'all could have. And be transparent about it. How about make America great again? How about make us gain America's trust in government and law enforcement? Power. People that have power. You're not going to get my vote until you get my trust.
That was the most difficult on the victim's family.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
And no one else, right? Like, I was certain the entire time because I saw the science. I knew the results, right? I never had one.
I saw the science. I knew the results. Do you guys see who's saying they did this and what we were fucking told? And so who's going to come out here and have the balls to say, yeah, I have no idea why the prosecutors and the police are lying. No idea. But we're not lying here. Do you hear this? 2 labs, my fucking ass, my titties, 2 labs. This shit boils my fucking blood. Because this is good shit. But when you have good shit and you have to lie, then I'm over here like, why are we gonna lie about this?
One doubt in my mind that we'd be sitting here today, whenever today was, whether it's after the trial, before the trial, at a plea. I knew that this day was going to come. But the victims' families didn't have that certainty. I don't even know if law enforcement involved in the case had that certainty. I don't know how far the results actually propagated as the full result of the investigation because everything was kept so under wraps. And I think that needs to change.
There you go.
Stacy's right. This technology is superior to traditional DNA testing. Traditional DNA testing.
There you go. She says it. That needs to change. So she right there, and that's what got me to at least say, okay, I can get down with Kristen because in a way, she is saying it. She is saying it. And how you get it to change is by doing it the right way, because it's going to have to change if you want to implement it in being involved in investigations from the jump. Okay, because this shit is not going to cut it. This shit right here, what happened in this case, is not going to cut it. And since this is a first impression in Idaho, where I think that you might get Brian Kober ever appealing it or anything like that, is going to come way down the road when it's not first impression. And then stuff comes out and things get handled a certain ways. And then now, so it's going to have to take some time on that front. That's the only way, in my opinion, that you'll ever see an appeal. Otherwise, I don't think there's going to be an appeal. People out there that are waiting for Brian Kober to appeal, I don't see that. But with that said, it's great to be back. 2 days not seeing your guys' names and faces next to those little avatars. Me just spinning around, screaming. No, but you guys rock. Let's go. I agree with Moto Man here. Shortcuts were made 100%. Precedent has been set. Yeah. I think there's more. I think there's also more to the story. I think there's a lot of things working behind the scenes. I think there are lawsuits coming. I do. Jamie gifted a membership. Make sure you guys thank your girl Jamie there. Hi, Alana. JJ UK. Yeah, all my UK people. This time slot was all for you guys. No, for 2 days. No, I didn't get shut down. No. I had a weekend like with family stuff. Yeah. No, no one can shut me down, girl. But hey, great news. Dinky, love you. Great news is Hippler has set the precedent, though. We just need a couple more batches to go through, and we're going to get the nuts and bolts here with these reports. We have all expectations that Nick Balance's report will be unsealed. Cyray's will be unsealed. The tip, how they were going to introduce it, that's coming out in the next batch. I'm all about the documents, man. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, let's talk about something like these. No. Everything that I talk about on this channel comes straight from the docket. Okay. And when all this stuff gets to be revealed and you look at it now going through from front to back, because here we're going the reverse way, which kind of sucks. Then you just see how it all played out. But yeah. The relationship that I see here, it should have been Othram with all the families. And I just would like to know why it wasn't, you know? I really respect that, Lana. I've tried to do the same. Thank you. Well, you know, we respect you. Everybody has a right to have their opinions. Your opinions form because of like your personal experience with whatever it is. And my experience with this case has been Bill Thompson. Bill Thompson is a fucking liar. He's supposed to be representing we the people. And we have a we the people person lying to we the people. What the fuck? No, not on my watch. So, all right, guys, until next time, who knows? Maybe I'll go live a little bit later tonight around 10. Until next time, take care of one another and yourselves. Get your pets. Get your pets spayed or neutered. Name that closing tagline. Use the comment section of the video. Let me know. Thumbs it up, thumbs it down. You have an opinion. Make yourself known. Why ride a fence when you can ride a cowgirl?